Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkins Show. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Bodkins Show. I am your host and that dude, as always, Bodkins, coming to you live. Man, we have had a great day here in the podcast world. If you missed it this morning, please check out the LTS show that we kicked off at 8 a.m. this morning. It was a pleasure. Brought in my son. He had a little guest appearance. He gave out his top 5 NBA offseason moves. You know, he's a chip off the old block, but he did pretty well. We enjoyed it. The rest of the guys, we finished talking a little AFC North as well, so in the division. So if you missed that, please check that out, and we'll be back tomorrow night as well with that LTS show. You guys know, as always, at 8 o'clock Central. But if you missed it this morning's episode, please do check that out. But tonight, you guys know what it is. It's our one-on-one sit-down conversation. We've had several different guests. I am pleased to announce our guest tonight, a man who is a 2-time Pro Bowler in the NFL, folks. This guy played for the San Francisco 49ers, played for the Miami Dolphins, played for my own Green Bay Packers for a little bit. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Very first time, a legend of a man, Mr. Delvin Williams.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Welcome, Delvin. How's it going, my man?
Oh, not bad, not bad. You.
Good.
With you. I'm losing you, I think. I hear.
Oh, you're good, man. We are good. We'll ride it out. Technology's at its finest right now.
Okay.
Delvin, let's jump into it. You're always a football guy.
How's life treating you?
Oh, perfect. I can't complain. I'm on the show with the one and legendary Delvin Williams. It's living out my dream. It's always been a broadcaster to interview stars, Pro Bowlers, guys with stories. So I can't complain. I get an opportunity to talk to a legend like yourself.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Delvin, let's jump into it. Football always your first love, or was there other sports that you enjoyed growing up?
Well, I played. I ran track. I played a little basketball, but track and football probably was my best sport, and of course football. I ran track because you had to if you're gonna play football, and in the long run, it really helped me. It helped. But that was about it. The two we played basketball. Track with snatches off the court.
Were you always top dog on the football field, always running back, or was there other positions that you played?
No, really. When I first went out for football, they put me at wide receiver and cornerback, and I didn't want to play either one. But you know, you got to play. You don't play football, you have to play. And always had my heart was always into running back. And so finally, mid-season, my junior year, fullback got hurt. And from there, about midway into the season, I had a really good year, and I was excited about it. And so the next year, I started off at starting fullback and made All-American.
All-American out of high school. What kind of talk to me a little bit about that recruiting process? And you were kind of in my neck of the woods. I live in Missouri. You went to University of Kansas. What made you go to the Jayhawks?
That's right. Kansas hired my high school head coach, and course, cool. You know, they a beautiful campus on a hill, and they hadn't won, but had 2 years before they'd gone to the Orange Bowl and lost. And at that time, there was a lot of Texas players were leaving the state, going to out-of-state schools. Cliff Branch had gone to Colorado. J.B. Kane had gone to Colorado as well. Joe Washington, Greg Pruitt went to Oklahoma. Myself, Robert Millen, Don Good went to Kansas. So and we all eventually turned pro. So it all kind of worked out. But we felt the Big Eight was the best conference around during that time.
Why not?
Of course, Gale Sayers went to Kansas, who was my high school idol.
Yeah, hey, legend. Hey, legend.
And then he came back. He came back as a assistant AD, and so we got to meet and talk to him a little bit.
You got recruited by the legendary Gale Sayers.
Yeah, well, Gale was there. He I laugh at this because I won the Gale Sayers Scholarship Award, and it was the first and only one. And but it was good to meet him, to see him. He come to practice and we talked to him a little bit. Gale was a reserved guy, but he would tell you what he thought and he felt, and I just because of who he was. He's just a great back, and so that was a good experience to be around him.
What did he say to you to get you to come to Kansas? I mean, you're All-American. Why not Texas, Oklahoma? What other than you said your high school coach, did Gale say something to you that made you just want to go to Kansas?
Well, I was recruited by all of those schools. In fact, the University of Texas at the time, there weren't very many black players in the Southwest Conference, and they hadn't recruited very many. I remember Jerry LaVias was the first black player to my knowledge, playing in the Southwest Conference at SMU. Great running back, great receiver. Then Warren McVay came around to University of Houston, and University of Houston recruited me, but I wanted to get away. I didn't want to be home. I didn't want to be at home, and so they were the first school to recruit me. I took a trip. The first time I took a trip was to Kansas. And I just kind of liked the school. A lot of the guys were going to be living not in apartments, brand new apartments, and not dormitories. And so that was intriguing. But when they hired my head coach, that kind of solidified. I went to Oklahoma. I went to UCLA, North Texas State. Schools that. But I was running track too at the time, and all of the trips on the weekend, and my track coach, he didn't want me to miss very many. He said, "Why don't you choose about 5 or 6 schools, and you set it up, and you go." And so he didn't want me to miss the track meets, and I didn't want to miss them either. But it was a real, but Kansas, it was out of Kansas and University of Houston. Excuse me, my mother wanted me to go to University of Houston, but I wanted to leave, so I ended up going to Kansas.
How successful were you? It sounded like you guys, before you went there, Kansas was coming off a nice little run. You said the Orange Bowl. How successful were you guys when you were there? And what's happened to Kansas kind of since?
It was kind of a rebuilding process for us, and we got beat pretty good a couple of years. But my senior year, we went to Liberty Bowl, and North Carolina beat us. I got speared in the back in the game, and I thought that, wow, this is going to affect my ability to possibly play professional football, and I was nervous and worried about it. Of course, I'd gotten an invitation to the East-West Shrine game, to the North-South game. Well, I wanted to go to play in the North-South because that was the first game you're going to get paid to play. So I didn't want to miss that, but I couldn't because of my back injury. So I was a little nervous, a little concerned about it, and then my come draft day. This was almost before ESPN was out.
Yeah.
Before they do all this hullabaloo now for the draft. You'd go to a hotel room and sit with the scouts, and and so the day before, 2 days before, a scout named Vince Linskog had been had timed us and come to campus a couple of times. My roommate and I, Don Good, he told us that one of his teams, he scouted for a combine. He said one of his teams would draft us, and he was scouting for Oakland, San Diego, LA, and San Francisco. And so draft day, I was nervous. You don't know what's going to go down. Don, my roommate in San Diego drafted him in the first round. He was a 15th player chosen, linebacker, and I missed the first round. I was a little upset, but I, my back injury had a lot of suspicion around about how bad I was hurt. But I went with 49ers drafted Wilbur in the first. We had 2 first-round draft choices to draft Wilbur and Bill Sandifer in the first round, and I went in the second round. And I was pleased with that. I mean, first or second round at that time, that was a good draft.
Still is to this day. Do you think that back injury is what caused you to slip to the second round, or would you have been a first round pick had that injury not happened, do you think?
I think I would have been a first round pick. I really do. I think the back, but sometimes you never know. But I think the back kind of slowed me, or there was some suspicion about that. I cracked it. It really hurt, one of our doctors was a radiologist, and he had called me at home and said that we talked about it. He said he didn't think that affect my ability to go further and play, and they had told the scouts and everything, so that was good to know. But even still, you just don't know. You just don't know what will happen. And when I went in the second, I was a little upset because I thought it should have been a first round draft choice. But second wasn't bad. That was the 49th player chosen by the 49ers.
Excited it was the 49ers, or was there another team that you really kind of wanted to go to, or just happy to be drafted overall?
No. I mean, I was definitely pleased with the 49ers. I had a hamstring problems at Kansas, because it was so cold, and I ran indoor track, really tore a bad hamstring, and so I had to spend a whole year trying to get that back, and then played through the season with it, and it just wasn't. It didn't. It's not good to play with a torn hamstring. So we ended up we started out pretty good, but then the third year was our best year. We went 7-3, and actually total of 7-4 because we lost the bowl game, and we finished like 17th in the nation, because at that time the Big 8 only had 8 teams, and you're talking about Nebraska, Oklahoma, Colorado, Missouri, Kansas. Well, you're from that area, so
yeah.
a lot of guys. That was the conference then. Then when they said the Big 10, but the Big 8, I remember we said 4 teams to a bowl game out of 8. So it was a good conference, and I finished second in the conference in receiving. We were a passing team, and I had 700, almost 800 yards rushing, but it was just we were a passing team. We ran the ball well, and we did pretty good, but we lost the ball game. That was a tough one.
Yeah,
but I'm happy I went. I was academically ineligible.
You were academically ineligible.
I was academically ineligible my freshman year, and I ended up graduating in 4 years.
Oh, okay. Hey, so you turned it around after the
So I'm
after
happy I
the
went to
freshman
school.
year. What happened the freshman year?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
school not. Hey, that happens to us, I think, when we're young, right? Like just not taking it serious enough.
My freshman year?
Yeah.
Well, no, you know what I found out later? And not until 95, and along out of football, I'm dyslexic, I have ADHD, and I have severe obstructive sleep apnea. So I had all of those things at a young. I didn't really know at that time when I was young. There was no such thing as sleep apnea. No one knew anything about it. And when I finally got a sleep study, my sleep index I was oxygen 73 episodes of apnea per hour.
Jeez.
So I was always tired. I was always tired. Much rest because of waking up half the time in and out of night. But it started to, I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it until I was out of football. All of that stuff.
What helped you afterwards after you got
Siri started talking to me.
Yeah. You good. What happened after? So what made you realize that, like, after your freshman year? Was you like, did you go to a doctor and realize that, and they help you, or how did you outcome that?
Well, when I left high school, I knew I struggled with school, and I had flunked the fourth grade with all Fs, and so that was really somewhat really devastating, to have that happen. And I knew from that point on I had to figure out something, and I did. I just tried to work hard at it, and I struggled, but I was getting through. I was never a great student in it, but I was getting through, and I never knew what was wrong with me, why I couldn't do certain things, why I had problems with it, and when it came time, even knowing that I might go to college, I was always worried that I might not be able to do the work, and so they recruited me, and I got there. I was ineligible, so I had to work and pay my way through school the first year, and that was really, it was really kind of really set you back, because there I'm a high school All-American, and now I can't play football. But that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it proved to myself that I could do this. And when I got my grades up, I flunked one course, but I was able to get my grades up in the second semester. And I told myself I could do this. If I did it without any help, without tutoring, then I could do it with some tutoring. And I just I remember putting my courses in the back of my notebook by semester. And I said, if I pass this semester, here's my elective. And that was my guide. And I had PE was my major, and biological science was a minor. And I mean, we had some tough courses. Chemistry almost kept me from graduating.
Yeah, inspiration. We tell kids. Uh-oh. There we go. I'm good. We tell kids all the time, you're inspiration. You kept working at it. You knew what you struggled at and persevered,
Yeah. Well, see, I think what this was, always knew each phase that I moved through, it was getting closer to what that dream was as a kid. And just like any other kid, all kids, we have that dream of running and winning touchdowns in games, and being Jim Brown and Gale Sayers. But when you were in junior high school, it's just a long, you can never think that you would get there. But each time you graduate in high school, now college, and then getting through that, and you're getting closer and closer to it. And that was motivation, because you got to stay eligible to be in college to play. But then I started I started to have some success in the classroom, and I knew you can do this with tutoring, because I didn't have tutoring my first year, but with tutoring, but I couldn't fall behind because falling behind was hard for me to play catch up. So I had to always stay on top of it. And
do you think
that's kind of been the way?
Do you think the success in the classroom helped with success off the field?
I think you couldn't have one without the other, in some sense. And what I felt was I have never used my college degree because I haven't really had to at any point. But what college did was it showed that you could complete something. You could finish something, and that's a model for other things in life. You would know what it takes to finish, and what it takes. And it's hard. And there are days you walking up that hill in Kansas and it's 10 degrees going to class, but I always went to class. So it was cold. It was cold coming from the South, but it was. And it also gets down to how bad you want something. What are you prepared to do for it? What do you? And at this point, it was left up to me. No one else could do this. No one else could help me to do the work. And so it's like I won't say my back was against the wall, but there was no. I couldn't be a conscientious objector here. I had to do this. And more than anything, I had to do it to prove myself I could do it, but also and play football too.
And you were doing that, and you had success in it. You're right. Like if you just set your mind to it, and take it one step at a time and one day at a time, and you took that, and realized that you got help. I think as people, even especially men, we don't look at ourselves right that we don't want to reach out for help because it's a pride thing. And you don't, especially, men if that's masculinity, right? If we offer help, it's, we're not, that's degrading or whatever, but sometimes in life, you have to be man enough to realize I do need help and to reach out and need help. And you reached out and got that tutoring. And do you think, let me ask you this, because you conquered that already, graduating college, do you feel like that's more successful than even what you did on the football field?
Well, in both, yes and no, in a sense, they both had their challenges. Physically, I could always do things. I was faster. I could do things. I had moves, but I had never really challenged and really reached an intellectual level that I did in college. And what it boiled, you always struggle with it. You always had all these reasons why. I was tired. But now I had to, and then you always struggle with it. So now, when you're, for lack of a better word, when your back is against the wall, and you want something, what are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to do for it? And I had a lot of help. Students, tutoring. Everybody was in my corner. So it wasn't like I was by myself. If I needed tutors, I got them. If I go to study, all the guys can do that. See, I had to do the work too. It wasn't just going to fall in place for me. And I was proud of that because I was one of a few guys from Impact.
Look, I just glanced kind of at you. We were talking about your draft class, and I was just wanted to take a peek at it. You absolutely, to go in the second round in that draft class is phenomenal. Even you probably, like we admitted, you probably could have been a first rounder with that if without your back injury. But you had Ed Too Tall Jones in that was the first round pick. Then you had Hall of Famers like Lynn Swann, Jack Lambert, John Stallworth, Mike Webster. That was a heck of a draft class you were part of.
We had a good class. In fact, as a high school All-American, as I can remember. Now I don't know. There may be others, but the two there was when I was running this program for kids, and is everybody wanted to go, wanted to be a professional athlete, and there's this Miller Lite did the study, and it said that from every year about 200,000 high school seniors want to move on to professional football. Out of that 200,000, about 5,000 will become eligible by the time they're seniors. They quit, changed their minds, got hurt, or whatever. Out of that 5,000, the NFL drafted 300 and X amount of players, say 350. Out of the 350, 150 might make the team. Out of 150 that might make the team, 20 become all pro, the best at their position. And at that time, there was three of us that was on that team. It was me, Lynn Swan, I think, and Mark Bradshaw, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's Lynn and I went on to be out of our high school class. We went on to be all pro, and that was only two if Morris didn't make it.
The elite.
It was a good class. It was a good class of people.
What was it like when you finally? Oh, what was it like when you finally got to the San Francisco 49ers? This is right before the 80s, obviously, where they had their most successful decade. So what was it like when you got there?
Well, it was, it was everything that you see these guys on TV, and now here you are in the locker room with some of them. Sandra Gene Washington, Spurrier, you can go on and on, Wilcox, Jimmy Johnson. So it's just a lot of great players, and here I am, and you sitting there, these are grown men. These guys are 38. I'm like 30 years old. Some of them are grown, and we're like 21 years old coming out of high school, and you could see that difference. But the one thing that I realized that was about professional football as opposed to college is that the cerebral game is much more intense than it is of learning plays and listening to picking up blitzes and hearing the quarterback change the call, knowing what the defenses move, and it was a very intense. If you don't learn the playbook, you don't learn the play, you're not gonna make the team. So I thought that was one of the fell out in the game against San Diego, in the infield of baseball field.
Yeah.
A defensive lineman had picked a fumble up, and I was running down to try and catch him, and I got cut in the infield, and I put my hand down. This thing here, I've had 8 surgeries on it, and I broke it and played broke. That's what it gets down to. How bad you want it.
Yeah. Is the injury, is that why the time was short in San Francisco, or what happened there with just only the 3 years there in San Fran?
Well, what happened was they fired. I mean, Monty Clark. The Bartolows bought the team, and when the Bartolows bought the team, the 49ers were just coming out of rebuilding, and we had my third year there, Monty Clark's first year, we'd had an 8-6 season, 2-3 field goals, we would make the playoffs. So we were feeling pretty good about the team. But then, because the 49ers were owned by 2 brothers who died, and their wives were running the team, and they had good people around them, but I think they probably wanted to get out of it, and when the right person came along, or Andy Bartolo, they bought the team, and when he bought the team, he wanted all his people in, and Monty Clark, who was the offensive line coach with Miami for years when they won all the Super Bowls, and Joe Thomas was in Miami when Monty was there. At some point, they didn't get along. And but the main thing Monty said, we talked to him about. He says if he's gonna be the head coach of a team and run it, he want to choose people, and you can't blame him for that. I would want to do it because if a general manager comes in, they're gonna do the drafting, and you got to win with the players that they drafted. And we were on the brink of having doing something special here. Yeah, and then it was all disbanded. Joe trading people. So that traded me to Miami. Got 4 players, a first and a fifth, and Freddie Solomon and a defensive back. And Joe always believed they wanted to build a team. He thought, it's his acumen, he could build a team. And he could get 4 draft choices from me, and my contract was going to be up, and he was going to have to re-sign me again. So, and people don't realize when you trade someone and you get 4 players, that's 4 salaries you don't have to pay. So yeah, that's a budget move too. When they do that, so it was in for players, we're not thinking like that. As a player, you want to get the best players that help you win. And owners and people that own the teams, they're looking at bottom line. They're looking at it can become personality issues. But players, we line up when we step across that line. Okay, who it is, we got to play, and that's what we wanted to do. But then it was all disbanded. But it turned out all right for me. I went to Miami.
Yeah.
And did well. I had some issues there too, but I did well. And I want to apologize for my career.
You had your best year in Miami in '78, your first year there. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, it was, when I was traded to Miami, in fact, I told Joe Thomas if he was a woman, I'd kiss him. For trading me there for Super Bowl teams with Shula, and I knew the system because Monty Clark was here, so it was a ready-made, and or not technically, but what I had understood that they felt they were a back away from really having a good offense, and I said, all I want to do is come down and help the team win, do my part. I don't want to be looked at as some messiah that's going to take us to the mountaintop. I want to fit in. I want to do what I'm good at and do it and help. And that's kind of where it turned out. I didn't try to go down and set any records, but it happened. It was all within the scheme of the offense. And but I took a beating. I was 195 pounds, and we ran the ball a lot. And we had a pretty good line, with good players. But once you start having success, you're a marked man.
Yeah.
The teams will not let you beat them. We'll let somebody else will beat us, but you won't beat us. Later, and it was the first year for the 16 game season, and so the 15th game I got hurt in. Well, I got hurt in a bunch of them, but that was the main one.
What happened there with the injury?
Well, in camp, I tore my bicep, long hair. And so and you can play with it like that, but it got worse and worse and worse. It started to affect the nerves and in your neck and your arm. You start losing strength in your arm, and then I had a knee injury. So I had a Baker's cyst in the back of my knee. It was about the size of a golf ball, and so I couldn't really bend my leg when I was running. So I had to have both of those surgeries. I had them both at the same time. And we were in the playoffs on Christmas Eve against the Oilers, and they beat us 16-9 or something. I couldn't really run. You know, you feel bad. You're trying to contribute, but you're not yourself. And but they beat us. And that was my first time in the playoffs. You know, the first year there. Came back second year. Larry Zonka came back, and Zonka, great running back, all pro, one of the best of all time. You know, but he wanted to come back to Miami. He wanted to play for Shula. And he did come back, but then you have both of us. We both not enough balls, you know.
Yeah.
He's going to get his share of carries, and probably mid-season, I don't know, maybe mid-season, and Zunk had 5-something rushing. You know, I was hoping that we both could get 1,000 yards rushing, and then I cracked 2 ribs. I got hit and broke 2 ribs against Green Bay, and I missed 3 weeks, missed 3 games, and then it took me some time to get back into the groove when I came back. Something rushing, and Zunk had 8-something, you know. So, but far less carries than I had the year before, and you know, and our offensive line was going through transition. We had lost a couple of the starters off the great line that the Dolphins always had, and bringing in younger players. And so I was kind of you would never hear Don Shula say it, but you know, we were in a transition. We were in a rebuilding mode because we had to get new linemen, and I new fullbacks I played with. So it was a up and down 2 years after that.
Do you think the injuries to the knee and the ribs that and you mentioned, like you said 8 or 9 surgeries on the hand, like, do you think that obviously the longevity of the career that shortened the career? Did you feel a difference after those surgeries?
Yeah.
Like you weren't the same?
Oh, I think it does. It does. I mean, you just take you anytime you get great surgery, but it's never functioning like it was before it was hurt. And even I had to take shots in the ribs to play. I mean, I wasn't when you went back, you weren't really, you know, ribs don't heal in 3 weeks, and so you're playing with that, and there's always that you can't go out thinking you're gonna get hurt, but it's not out of the back of your mind. But you can't run like you're nervous because you get hurt thinking about it. So, I said to Coach Shula when I first got this, look, I'll do whatever I can in my power to help us win. And if you don't think I'm doing the job, you take me out. I get it. You know, if you think I get it. You know, whatever we need to do, and that's what I tried to do.
Delvin, I
always want to be remembered as a player. You know, as a player.
Yeah. I see you got a book. What's the book title right there next to you?
This is a book I've written. It's about the journey. Where we're just talking about what it takes to get through it, overcoming things, and a lot of the legal issues we've gone through that nobody talks to us about. Because when I left football, and nobody had laid out any plan for you. The Players Association know the league, and I remember saying it to myself just as clear as day. I said, there should be a book or something that you could read to figure out what you do. And I had no idea I would do this, but as I moved through my career and all the things, the surgeries, the legal hassles I've had for like ever since I've retired. I've been dealing with them, fighting them, and and there's no question about my injuries. They just don't want to pay you. So
talk to me about the legal.
It was a
Talk to me a little bit about that legal problems.
The legal aspects.
Yeah.
I hold off on for now, but it was you know, when you're it's just like a job. You know, you get workers' compensation at your job. If you get hurt, the job has to tell you have, and it's no different in football, but they don't do it. And they don't tell you you have that as a remedy for your injuries until after it's over, after a year passed. Then they say, you go back, you find out about it, they still don't tell you. And they say, well, sorry, the statutes have passed. Now, the statutes in California, California is the only state that I know of that tells the worker and employers, if you don't give them a notice about their injuries. So finding that out, I filed my a claim, and also I filed issues with the retirement board for disability, and I won that, but I lost. I had to end up paying them attorney fees. I had to pay them $625 a month for 10 years because I lost. And this is my my union. I mean, my benefits program.
Does the league not?
I had no insurance. You don't get medical insurance.
Does the league not? Do you feel like the league does not take good care of veterans like yourself and guys who kind of paved the way for today's game? We know about the CTE now, and then it seems like it's.
I don't think that the league follows. Go ahead. No.
I was just saying about the CTE and things like that. Like, it seems like they're moving here today. They're worried about today's player, but they're kind of forgotten about the guys who paved the way.
Well, here's a couple of things there, and that's true. But they have no reason to, because the supply side is endless. And so they'll always have players coming out of college. And now with the NIL, they're going to probably be more ready to play even more so now. But regardless of that, there's still an obligation, as businesses have in this country, is to take care of a worker when they're hurt. That's the agreement that the businesses and the unions and employees have come to, that agreement, and the government supports, but they don't do it, and nobody says anything. You'll be surprised of how many guys even know about it.
Is there a settlement amount, like years you have to play to get benefits, or is it just you have to? What's that? What is that like in the benefit package?
Well, those are two different things. Those are two different things. The benefits are what measured by your years in the league, and you get X amount of dollars per year. And workers' comp is guaranteed if you work, and you get hurt one way. But nobody will tell you that. And
so does the NFL
tells you that, you don't know.
So does the NFL not pay workman's comp then? Like, because you got hurt, or let's just say instance like DeMar Hamlin for the Bills, he let's just say he can never play again. Would he get some like workman's comp like in that situation?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, yeah, he can, and this is an interesting. He can years from now, when he leaves the game, however long it is, and he waits a year later, and that may be okay when he first get out, and after a year has passed, and he goes back and look for workers' comp, can't get it. And the same thing if it was something else on my mind when you brought that up. But no, what happens to him? What happens to him if he starts after he's out of the game after a year and he started having chest problems? A program where you're paid, you get your disability retirement disability, but you don't get medical. I don't know if they get it now, but they might.
But they didn't get it when you was coming out. Yeah.
Right. And they may have it now, but I still see some of the same issues that we face too. Because a player.
Go ahead.
If you're making $10 million a year, you're not thinking about workers. You're not thinking about what will happen. But if for nothing else, you should file it just because that you keep it alive just for yourself.
I just got a few more questions for you, Mr. Williams, and I appreciate you joining me again tonight.
Sure,
what would you like to see the league do to help the players of the past, like yourself and those who really sacrificed their bodies for the betterment of today's game, and really for, what would you like to see the NFL do?
Well, one, I think first of all, when they leave the job, there should be some transitional payments, depending on what the player, because if you look at Medicare, Social Security, disability benefits, workers' comp, there's enough programs out there if they organize it that a player could transition out of the game. And if you're making X amount of dollars, then you got medical, then you may not need X amount of dollars. So it should be, how is it measured by the amount of money that a player has and about what he's due to receive from it, on the benefit side of it, and make it comparable, not just either or, we don't want to do it, then I tell you, it's funny. I mean, it may have changed some, but you could be hurt. All these things that are wrong with you, it was saying that if you worked, you couldn't get disability. I've had 20 surgeries since I retired. How in the hell am I going to work?
Good question.
All of them football related. So how do you expect you'd be walking around and limping? You wouldn't be upright, so to speak. I've had both hips replaced. I've had 5-6 shoulder surgeries, knee surgery, hip, ankles, all of that stuff. And how you do that in work?
And that's why.
And so they're doing better now, I think, in some areas of having joint replacement programs. And I don't really know because that's somewhat all behind me now. But they can do a lot better than they're doing.
And that's how a lot of those guys, after they retire, they're beat up, their body's beat up, and they get addicted to prescription pills. And, we see that happen. Junior Seau, he obviously had CTE as well. But,
sure.
That's what happens with these guys is they get addicted to, doctors have to subscribe them and just kind of drug them up, and they get addicted to these pills. And then it's another cycle that happens to them.
Yes. That is true. That is true. But the game itself creates addiction, because you can't play that game without getting hurt, and you can't play it. I remember I had a doctor when I was getting ready to get my hip replaced. The doctor told me, he said, I want you to use the pump, to give you a pump for pain med. I use it because he says you cannot heal if you're in pain. And that was the first time someone had ever told me that. First time in my life. I said, what? He said, no, you can't. And that's true. You cannot heal if you're in pain. You must take your medication. You must have it in order to heal if you have surgeries. But if you have no access to it, it leads to other things. And because you've heard guys and people say on many occasions, "Oh man, my adrenaline, I have no more adrenaline. I was drained of adrenaline." Well, you're drained of a lot of dopamine, all of that you just can't get up every week, emotionally. And so that then becomes the addiction. Play. There were some Sunday mornings I woke up, I didn't feel like going to work that day. A broken ribs, knee got to be drained. Bad that no one sees, no one knows when you run out on that field and you're all taped up.
Man. Are you still okay? I think I lost. Are we good here? Okay. So we what? I got two more questions for you, and then we'll get you out of here. I always like to ask athletes that I've talked to. You've been around.
You're late. Our voice is delayed, so.
Yeah, several different. You've been around several different locker rooms. We talked a bit about your Hall of Fame class and things like that. Who's the one guy that you played against or played with that you were like, wow, like I thought I was special, but that might guy be like one of one?
Well, I didn't get most of your question. Say it again.
Oh yeah, sorry. The internet, it seems to be internet's kind of where on. I was just saying, like you've been around different locker rooms and different guys, and you've played against some legends and played with some legends. Who's one guy that you were like, I thought I was special, but that dude is kind of the one of one where like I don't either want him to come hit me or like or on the offensive side, like oh man, like that guy's he's really special.
Well, that's really hard because every team has great players, and you don't want anybody to line you up. If somebody centers you up, they're gonna get a good hit on you. But the idea is trying to avoid getting hit. But Dave Wilcox was a great team. Cedric Hartman, Jimmy Johnson was one of the greatest cornerbacks ever played. Played 16 years at cornerback. The one I wouldn't want to be hit by would have been Dick Buckus, because he was one of a kind. But you can't say don't hit me, Dick. You gotta just go out and try and survive the lick and keep coming back. Don't let him hit you from the blind side.
Well, Dick would hit you from the blind side, and he may be helmet might be sitting this way,
But he played the game the way it was supposed to be played. He played middle linebacker.
Let me ask you this. I don't know.
You just tip your hat to him and hope it didn't hit you.
Yeah. What do you make of the state of the running back situation in today's game? Are you tuned into this about like guys kind of sitting out? They're not getting paid what they feel like they're getting paid. They're one of the lower ends of especially on the offensive side of football, the skill position. They're the lowest paid. Mm-hmm. Everybody else's salary has gone up the last few years outside of running backs and kickers. What do you make of that situation?
Well, it's always been there. It's always been there. So I was gonna. I played with 3 games of the season unsigned, and when I was in Miami. So it goes on, but today there's more money behind it now. There's a reason why you set out. Because you can get more money. And you want the parity. It's always been that way, always. But now with the amount of money that they're having in this franchise tag and all the different things they can do to try and keep a player satisfied. But if you don't say anything, they won't give it to you. So I think that they should do it. I mean, I don't begrudge any player any amount of money, anything he can get. for playing the game because they deserve it, and they have it.
So obviously you're siding with the running backs. That position. I mean, we just talked about your whole career took a beating. All the surgeries that you have. So every these guys.
I was talking to somebody about that the other day. I mean, when they're on a good day, we may run 65 or 70 plays offensively. And if you're in the flow of things, you may get 20 to 25 plays. Get the ball that much. You might go out. I don't know how many passes you get, 5 or 6 maybe thrown at you in somewhere or another. But you're running backs involved in a third of the plays on offense. I mean, actively involved now, and being physically hit, not just running by people, but also they have to block, pick up blitzing linebackers. They have to go out and help on the defensive. So the running backs are probably the most vulnerable player on the team, and so you have to get the amount of as much money as you can while you can. So I don't blame them. I mean,
that's everybody.
No, it's not. That's that because it's enough. They have enough money to do that. See, when we were playing, they had enough then. But they're always talked about. We can't get.
I just got one more question for you, Mr. Mr. Williams. What do you?
That's good. It's good.
Okay. What do you do today? What are you involved in with today? I know you got your book and everything else. What are you else involved in today's world?
Well, my full-time job is trying to be a lawyer to defend myself because I can't get a lawyer. But for me, because of the NFL and the teams, and they're trying to get out of paying me the money and that they owe me. This is money that they owe, and so I'm all my time, all my days trying to figure out how to. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm learning this on the go. So, and this could be easily resolved on their. They owe me, but they're gonna have to do what they were supposed to do, pay other people too. So I don't know how we get around it, but if not, I'll write another book because I have the stuff, the information I have. It's another book. All I want to do is get on with my wife and live my life.
And one more time, tell the people what your book's called.
It's called From Fifth Ward to Fourth Quarter, and I'm gonna put my appeal box on my Facebook page because some people want an autograph and I can't. I'm saying send me $40. I'll send you the book. That takes care of the shipping, and I'll autograph it to you and send it back to you. So I'm going to put that on in the book, which is $30, $35. So I'm prepared to put that information, my PO box on my Facebook page, and anybody that want autograph, I'll send me the money and I'll send you the book right back to you. And it's about everybody, players, wives, guys that are not here anymore, wives that have read it. I had one of them tell me, I wish I would have had this long ago. And no one has ever really talked about what it's like when you're going through what you're going through and when it's over. And not even the players really know until they're in it. So it's kind of like I tease people and say, it's the James Webb of football. It's like the James Webb telescope of football. It gives you a view and particularly for a high school kid. There's a sports writer out here, Dave Newhouse. Dave says used to be he wrote a piece here on it. He says this should be required reading for every football player, and that was a powerful statement. I believe so too. I talk about the legal stuff. I talk about the surgeries. I talk about all of that, and I think it's eye opening for a lot of people. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy with how it's turned out.
You got any regrets? I know you kind of said you didn't really have any regrets, but do you have any other, like any regrets about your playing days or?
Well, not really. You always look back and you say, well, what if? But I when I look at what I've accomplished, I feel pretty blessed to have had that and had that experience. Oh, every player would want to go and play as long as they can. But there's not very many Jim Browns and Dick Buckuses and guys around like that. When come around every several generations. So I think and even if I could have played 5 more years, I still have to go back through this tunnel that I came in with. You got to figure it all out. No matter how well, there's only so many TV announcers, so many color guys on TV, so many guys on the field. Jobs there, and every player is not going to get that. So I think when you break it all down and you look at it'd be interesting. You know what would be interesting? It would be interesting to know how many guys came out of that 1974 draft and what are they doing today. That would have been, like, you had the list there. It would be interesting how many are alive. So it would be interesting to find that out, and then you measure it somewhat by that. More realistically, I remember seeing the NFL record book for most yards in a career, and after 40 years out of the game, I was number 100, and that's been 40 years out of football, and so that says something. You left a mark. You left a mark, and so I feel good about that. If I could have played more, who knows what would have happened. But getting the 8 years in, I have, and I've had enough injuries from it, I'm okay. I'm all right. If I can get past this legal stuff, I'll be fine. And my message to, final thing I guess is in these questions maybe want to ask is, would I do it again? And I've been asked that on several occasions. And how I look at it is that when I grew up, I didn't have anything, and this was the only way. To be able to do what you dreamed of doing, what else can you ask for? And then to have some success at it. What else can you ask? And that's a heavy burden, because nothing else comes close to it. So if for no other reason, you're frustrated because you can't match that anymore, and it's going to end at some point. And what would make it better is if you were taken care of when it was over. It would make it all, we meaning former players, would be ambassadors for the league, because this is what we dream of doing.
Yeah, that's everybody, right? What are we working for if you can't enjoy retirement?
That's right. That's right. That's right. The retirement in this age, in this game, comes at 31 years old. And so, you still got a lot of life ahead. And even if, say like DeMar Hamlin, you brought his name up, even if he would have stopped playing and maybe had enough, what is he gonna do? He's a young kid. His mind is with football. and get the pleasure, the exhilaration that he was getting out of it. I mean, I've had some of my highest highs on football field with the crowd roaring, and I've never met that ever again at that level. So, but that's kind of extraordinary, you know. But I don't even with the concussions, even with all this stuff, if the league would take care of players, I bet you not one would say they wouldn't do it again. It's just the way a lot of it comes out of bitterness and anger of being treated a certain way, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, Mr. Williams, I appreciate you joining me tonight. It's been your story is incredible.
You got any more for me?
Hey, we'll leave it at that for you, sir. I appreciate you taking the time out tonight and speaking with me. You have an incredible story. People, make sure you please check out Mr. Williams's book. It sounds like it's a must read, and we appreciate you joining us. I'll be back tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time Zone for the Let's Talk Sports Show. We're going to have Jonathan Grisham on. We're going to have Jim Behringer on. We're going to talk a little wrestling. We're going to talk a little baseball. We'll talk even probably a little football as well. For Mr. Williams, I'm Bodkins. I'm going to hit that outro. I'll catch you all tomorrow night. It's been a pleasure, Mr. Williams. Legendary man, a guy who's all-pro running back at one point in time in this league.
Anytime, Nick. Anytime, man.
It has been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to hit that outro, folks. Be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, share. We'll see you tomorrow night.